Damn it. Okay.
Tonight on the Mac to the Future show, make sure I've got everything set up because that's not always a guarantee of quality. We have the fact that mshelper is no help at all. Users are steamed at Apple Pegatron to make ARM-based Macbooks as if. And also, there's one other thing. Oh, yeah, analysts already playing games with iPhone rumors tonight on the Mac to the Future podcast. Whoops, that's not right. Hello, everybody. It's the Mac to the Future, the late Mac to the Future Livecast. Go.
It's like it died.
It is. Is it?
It's like it died. Yeah, the late Mac to the Future. We knew him so well.
It's such a shame that we have lost. We have lost our dear Mac to the Future. Go Livecast. That's like too much to say. How you doing, Warren?
I'm good. How are you?
What people don't understand is Warren and I just started talking about 30 seconds ago because I was so incredibly late. But as I was explaining to him, what's in the secret box of goodness.
I can't remember what's in there.
The secret box of goodness is 32 gigs of RAM for this very computer. Because for people, you can't. Memory burr. That's like
clever.
Sad. It's sad that I have to explain it like that. For people who listens also for people who also listen to the My Mac podcast, we had issues. For the first time in I can't remember how long, I got a disk too slow error on this computer while we weren't even recording video. It was just audio, and GarageBand ceased to function, and I had to do all kinds of stuff to make it work. So I decided that maybe the problem was not enough RAM. So you know what this sounds like, Warren? This sounds like the same sequence of events that I went through when I had the Mac Pro and I was trying to do this and had all the issues.
Mm.
But the weird thing is we haven't had, ever since I got this computer, we have not had any audio lag.
Right, but just too slow doesn't sound like a RAM thing to me, but what do I know?
Well, it's a Fusion drive. It's not an SSD. So
No, but I mean it should be fast. I mean, the error that you're describing doesn't sound like a RAM error. It sounds like it's telling you the disk is too slow, right? So but the disk probably isn't too slow, or it shouldn't be, but
it shouldn't be.
Yeah. But you know what? More RAM, more good. So,
yeah. Now I do have this. This is a 2.5-inch OWC. I mean, they're not a sponsor. OWC SSD, 2 terabytes that I pulled from the old Mac Pro. So maybe if I put that in a relatively fast enclosure and then connect that up through Thunderbolt or USB-C, that would be fast enough to do recordings with, as compared to the Fusion drive.
So with the iMac, right, you have a couple. Your options with the iMac is to most likely have an Apple specialty or Apple put it in for you, because it involves like pizza cutters and lots of tools.
Yeah.
To get in there. I've done them before. I've gotten into Macs before and iMacs and put the SSD in there, and I don't suggest doing it. It's
there's glue and plungers and all kinds of things that I don't have.
Yeah. So the plunger was for the older ones, but the newer ones, literally the tool Apple uses is like a rubberized pizza cutter, and literally on the top and the side and the bottom of the Mac They take that pizza cutter thing and they slice it, and that's how you start to get the glue off, and you peel the monitor off.
They're going to do that to my lovely 27-inch iMac.
Yeah, it's like the alien autopsy.
I know.
So
I'm feeling like slightly nauseous just even talking about it.
And then that's the easy part, because once you're in there, then you have to get. So the first time I ever did it with the plunger and all, like I read the instructions and it told me like, remove this, remove that to get to the hard drive. I'm like, you know what? My hands aren't that big. I'm just going to remove as little as possible. And I cut my hand up really good, but I got in there. I got the hard drive out and put a new one in. So yeah, it's a pain. But if you have Thunderbolt 3 on that Mac, I think you do.
Oh yeah, it's Thunderbolt 3.
And you got USB 3. So if you want to get a Thunderbolt 3 enclosure, you could do that. That should boot pretty fast off it. I would try it.
Well, I will. Well, now you could also go, because it's Thunderbolt, you could also go with like an external enclosure with,
that's what I'm saying,
GPUs and all kinds of PUs to make you happy.
Right. Well, I mean, just for space, you don't need all that. You just need a Thunderbolt 3.
Why the hell doesn't Apple just make a freaking easier to open goddamn computer? I mean, why is it that everything has to be like origami just to get inside the damn thing? And hi, Frank. Yes, older MacBook Pros, there was like, at most 10 little screws that you had to take out to take the whole back side of it off. And then there was like one other screw that held the hard drive in place, and maybe a little bit of glue and one or two things that you had to kind of pop a little bit. It was a piece of cake.
Parts are messy. Computer parts are messy. Apple is tired of people coming into their store with like pieces of like an Apple product saying, "My app, it's pieces. It's all broken. This is here. They just want everything hermetically sealed, and you throw it away when you're done, just like soda can."
Really? That's your analogy, a soda can?
It's the only thing I'm looking at.
Okay.
I'm like,
all right.
Or a phone, or a watch, maybe.
Yeah, my son Peter is actually going to have me. He went for his birthday. His birthday is coming up June 11th. I almost forgot my own son's birthday. And it's either June 11th or June 12th. I always get it wrong. I don't know why.
Hopefully he's not watching this. But
yeah, no, he doesn't. Are you kidding? I've been doing podcasts since 2007, like over 10 years now. My wife has yet to listen to one. Does your wife listen back or watch any of these?
She listened to one that I did.
One.
Yeah, I did one with Simon, and I'm like, yeah, listen. I don't think she listened to it. She said she was going to.
Yeah. Well, she believe me, she was just trying to make you feel better. Oh yes, I'm involved in your hobbies.
I actually feel better thinking that she did not listen to it. So, I feel better knowing that a lot of people don't listen to it.
It actually, well, yeah, on this show certainly you don't have to worry about hardly anyone listening to this show. It actually is almost freeing knowing that your significant others, whoever they may be, aren't going to listen to whatever silly nonsense it is that you're doing once or twice a week.
We could say whatever we want.
Say whatever you want about the whole thing. And also, let's see here very quickly. Hello, Carolyn Ward. How the devil are you? We always like to say hello to new people that come in or relatives of mine that just happen to show up. Now, see, my relatives will show up and say, "Hey, guy, how are you?" And but not my wife.
Good thing we weren't talking bad about Carolyn. So
yeah. Carolyn, you're a sweetheart. I have no idea who you are. I've never met you before. I'm sure you're a lovely person. Boy, that went to hell and very, very quickly. I don't know why. Go. All right, Frank Petrie has a collection of Torx drivers. Yeah, I feel your pain.
I could go get mine if you want.
Oh,
they're right there.
Who's checking up on Warren, Frank?
My wife, because we're talking about my wife checking up on me on the podcast.
Ah. Okay.
Yeah.
I get it now. I get jokes.
Okay. All right, let's move on.
All right.
What do we got?
Well, first thing that we're going to talk about tonight, number one, has everyone done all the updates for your iOS devices? And haven't done it for the watch yet, but that's going to come up soon. And right as I restarted this computer, it came up and said, do you want to update iTunes now? I was like, no, I really don't want to do that right now.
Frank online had a issue with his. We could talk about that with the iTunes. So yeah, it was a strange week actually. We got the update for iOS and the watch and the TV, and not the Mac, which was weird because it was supposed to come out. I mean, essentially, it's supposed to come out before WWDC. You would think so. Something stopped that update. Then today, we got a beta updates, but not obviously the next version. We got the beta updates for this current cycle of the operating systems for the Mac OS, iOS, Apple, and Watch. So there's some rumors, there's some conspiracy theories, So the fact that a Mac OS didn't get released yesterday was either there was a problem with it and they didn't release it, or some people think that maybe they will release it next week along with a new model of a Mac something. So that's
well, when
possible.
was the last time they updated the Mac something? That's what I want to know. It's been a while.
Well, like the Pros, the MacBook Pros, they updated.
No, they haven't. They haven't.
Yeah, it is.
What? Not hardware. What have they done with the Mac Pros since 2013?
The MacBook
Pros. I'm sorry. I was
thinking. Kidding?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was thinking Mac Pros. Sorry.
The Mac Pro. That's
a sad state of affairs. Well, let's go on over to some of our stories.
Yep.
First one. Actually, would you mind posting that up in there? The first one is there's a nasty little bit of malware that is called mshelper. It's been making the rounds, and whoever made it, besides not being a very nice person, is also not very bright. What this does is use all of your Mac resources to mine for cryptocurrency, but instead, it's supposed to do this lurking in the background and only using resources when your Mac is idle, which likely would have delayed it being found. Instead, it takes over as soon as it's launched, spinning up your fans and using every bit of your CPU that it can. The way it's installed is currently a mystery, but it's most likely piggybacking off fake Adobe Flash installs or other similar dubious means, which means stop installing Flash.
No, make me.
Stop it. Stop it.
I won't. Never.
You bad boy.
And I won't reboot my router because the Russians either. Can't make me.
Oh my God. You're killing me here.
I know. I'm a rebel.
Oh, my goodness. To check to see if you're infected, open Activity Monitor. The easiest way is through Spotlight and look for mshelper. If you sort by CPU usage, chances are it will be at the top of the list. If you have it, you should remove it immediately through either a utility like Intego or other malware removers. However, you can also do it yourself by following the instructions. Whoops, there I am. Follow the instructions at this link right there. That's on your screen to get rid of it.
This came out a
couple weeks ago.
This is pretty old. The 18th, it looks like. And they named it after, they gave it a Microsoft sounding name just to throw you off, mshelper.
Yeah.
Because that actually is a Microsoft file process.
What, in Windows, but not in the Mac?
No, on Windows.
It's called something. Yeah. Oh, I mean, there is a mshelper that Microsoft has. No, on the Mac, because Microsoft has lots of Mac software too, but I don't think it's called mshelper.
No, but I'm saying the one that's on Windows, I think is actually called mshelper.
Yes.
I'm looking at that. But anyways, yes, it's there's a few of them. There's a few of these things out there on Windows, Unix, Mac, where you can install them and it will crypto mine or try to crypto mine on your computer. Most of the time, antivirus will pick it up. And if your activity monitor is going, just remove it. I used to work for a place where we kind of had a saying about this. If it's something you could kill and move to the trash bin and delete, it's not really a virus.
No.
It's a file. It's a file.
It's malware. At best,
it's not
what you can call it.
It's not even malware. It's a file. It's actually a program.
Yeah.
That's doing what it needs to do. So
doing naughty and bad things.
Yeah, but I mean the fact that you could just delete it. No.
Okay. Next story. Users are steamed at Apple. Warren, did you hear about this?
Yeah, this is a good topic.
Just before it was to be released, Apple revoked approval for Steam's iOS app, which would have allowed iOS devices to play Steam games. After Valve's announced plans for the app, Apple revoked its approval, citing business conflicts with app guidelines that allegedly had not been realized by the original review team. According to a Valve statement, neither company has yet to say what the exact problem is, but if I had to guess, it was that Steam was going to allow you to make purchases through the app, bypassing Apple's iOS store and their 30% cut.
It's more to it, but yeah.
Well, tell me.
So, and the follow-up to the story is Phil Schiller said they're still reviewing this. It's not a done deal yet. So what the app is basically, I don't know if you're right about it, but it's kind of like an app that you run on your phone, the Steam front end app. Right. And that app will connect to your computer wirelessly and stream the game from your computer to your iPhone or your Apple TV. So the content isn't necessarily, it's not even like on the phone. You're streaming it onto your phone.
Well, I mean, I talk about latency with doing a live stream. What kind of latency are you going to have in relation to a game like that? That's not only graphic intensive, but is having to go from their servers, verified through your computer, and then from your computer through, and especially if you're remote, to wherever the hell it is that you are, and then onto your iOS device.
You're supposed to, it's going from your computer that's local to your iOS device in your house. That's the way it's supposed to work. But there is like a Steam.
Well, there's a remote component to this, though.
There's not really.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry.
Bless you. The remote component. My understanding is you go on your computer, you launch a program on Steam, you buy the game, it downloads those files to your computer, and then from your iOS or TV device, you connect from there. But there are services out there where you could remote onto a remote computer and stream a game too. There's a lot of them now. Sony has it. Steam has one. Things like that. It's actually getting more common, but supposedly it works. Anyhow, the problem that the deal has is, yes, they will lose the profit of the App Store. Apple will. They're worried about developers because could happen is Steam could.
Hi, Andrea.
Steam could lower the price. Steam could lower the price of the game compared to the App Store, and that could be the problem too. But anyway, it comes down to control. They can't control the content. And there was a timely story about a Steam game that went online 2 days ago called Active Shooter, which is basically you are the shooter of a school, or you're the one that's trying to get the shooter of a school. And there was
that's a pretty scummy thing to do.
And there was a petition, and it took it down. But if they didn't take it down, then and this program was live for the iOS device, then they would have no recourse. There's no way, and they don't want that on their device. They don't want people shooting up teachers on their device, and this is a way to control it.
I still think it's about money.
It is about money, but it's also about controlling the ecosystem. Once you allow to, is that a goer?
Goer. Is that hat a goer? I got this hat. Frank and David know what this hat is. This is from last year's Mac. Oh, wow, boy, I just blanked on it. Macstock Expo. You see, you make me change in mid-course of a conversation, and my mind just kind of goes sideways and doesn't quite know what to make of itself.
I see you winking and making faces at the chat room. I know something's going on there, so I got to ask.
Yeah, the Macstock Conference and Expo. But that's where this hat is from. And so far, this has been the only hat that has been officially released for Macstock.
Anyway, that's my take on Steam. What's your take?
Money. That's pretty much how I feel about it. That this is about money. That Apple is a fan of making money, and if they allow Steam to have a way to bypass Apple's controls as far as money goes, then what's to stop anyone else from doing the same? And I think that's most of it right there.
I mean, yeah, but if that was really fully the case, then Apple wouldn't allow Netflix on its devices, wouldn't allow, Hulu, because basically
but do they allow through those applications to purchase content? Like the Amazon app, as far as content goes, now you can purchase stuff on Amazon through the app for like home delivery, but as far as content goes, you can't. So I think it's the same way with Netflix and Hulu and most of the other stores. That unless you're willing to give Apple their cut, then you basically have to go directly to their websites to purchase content.
There are apps. Hold on. There are apps out there that will.
Oh, that's what Andrea meant by the goer. Is that how to goer? It was to complete the Python skit. Okay, now I get it. Sometimes Uncle Guy is a little slow.
There are apps out there that will let you buy content through the app. Not a lot, but there are. There was a movie one I just Flickster.
You talking about Movies Anywhere?
And no,
because that's relatively new. That's something we haven't really discussed.
I just got one this week, and I think what it was is called Flickster Go or Flickster Movies. And anyhow, it's an app. You could rent movies through the app, and it's there.
And
so
Apple doesn't get a cut?
Don't know.
Okay. Well, speaking of cuts, even though we don't get anything for it, we are going to play an ad here, and when we come back, we will talk about ARM-based MacBooks. So everyone stand by, and we shall be right back. Are you a new Mac user or an old hand? Wish you could know the ins and outs, keyboard shortcuts, or hidden tips and tricks to make you more efficient using your favorite computer? Hey, it's your lucky day, because Edward Eisen has written a great guide to knowing more about the Mac and the OS that it runs on. It's called This is the Light Side, and it's available through Apple's iBookstore or with Amazon. Better yet, it's not a stuffy old book that gathers dust on the shelf once the next operating system is released, because it's an e-book that you can look at any time you want. It won't get outdated because it's continuously being updated. Information on setting up your new Mac, installing and getting rid of applications, security settings and what to look out for, keyboard shortcuts, some basic app recommendations, how to use Windows on your Mac, if you really want to, that is, advanced topics, searching, using iCloud, and much more. All this for a mere 99 cents. Go to the iBookstore or Amazon and check out Edward Eisen's This is the Light Side. It's the book you want on your virtual shelf. Okay, and we are back. Thank you. We lost some people while I played that Ed for Ad's book. While I played that ad for Ed's book.
There's some real book haters out there.
I know, boy. You people who left because of a book ad. That's just that's dreadful. Just dreadful.
I don't like to read either. To be honest with you.
Read what? What's reading?
I almost left too.
Yeah, that would have been embarrassing. And we're back. Well, I'm back. Okay.
I'm back. Anyhow.
We have, there's been, once again, this makes the rounds every month or so. There's a rumor going around that Pegatron is going to make ARM MacBooks with ARM processors. That's the theory. That's what they're saying. Yeah, I was a huge proponent. Hi, D. I was a huge proponent of Apple making ARM-based computers, and I every single kind of show I've been on where the subject has come up, I've been, oh yeah, it makes so much sense because of A, B, C, D, and I've now come to the conclusion that we are never going to see ARM-based Macs. Repeat after me 3 times. Apple is not going to be releasing ARM-based Macs anytime soon. Apple is not going to be releasing ARM-based Macs anytime soon. Apple is not going to be releasing ARM-based Macs anytime soon.
I'm not playing along with that because I don't know. Never know.
It doesn't make any sense. And part of it is well, back when they were still on PowerPC, when the rumors came around that they were going to make the switch to Intel, I poo-pooed that as well. But after it happened and you kind of saw the path that they were taking, it made sense because it opened up worlds of software and all other kinds of manner of development that they just weren't getting with PowerPC. It opened it up to being able to use Windows on your Mac, which for a lot of people is very, very important. Not me, but a lot of people. So
yeah, there's not a lot of things that could run on an ARM. Well, it's not true. I think everything could almost run on ARM right now.
If you throw enough cores at it, I imagine you could. But at some point, you kind of hit the law of diminishing returns. Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, I think Microsoft got Windows to run on ARM, like the full-blown Windows. From what I'm reading, they're starting to do that. Obviously, the iOS is ARM.
Yes. Well, it's a custom-built ARM processor of Apple's design that they have somebody else make for them.
Right. I mean, you got to think of the reason of why they would do it, and the only reason would be so they could develop their own chip, I guess, possibly.
Well, but transitioning Macs to ARM will disrupt all the cross-platform development. It will destroy the platform for those that have to use both on one machine, and at least in the short term, destroy the platform for the pro market, because there's a lot of software out there for the pro market that most likely wouldn't make the transition over to ARM, at least not in the short term. I think Apple saw the reaction to ARM and x86-based Windows when they released the first Surface tablets, and I don't think they're stupid enough to make that same mistake. Right. The transition to x86 made a lot of sense. IBM in essence told Apple that you're too small of a market for us to continue to make faster and faster PowerPC chips. Motorola was also making them, but at that point they were mostly just making the G3 and G4 slower chips, while IBM was making the G5s. And they basically refused to make a G5 that would be small enough and, not generate so much heat that you could put it into a laptop. And I think it was at that point, Jobs kind of took the brakes off of the x86 development that had been going on for years at Apple and said, okay, have at it.
Right. So my feeling is if they were going to do something like this, they're trying to get into a market they're not in. So the tablet is like a hybrid tablet laptop is what they're trying to get. Maybe they're going to try to go there. Maybe they like the idea of the Surface products, that have more of a computer functionality, that are more of a tablet. I don't know. I think, I don't think it's bad for them to experiment with things like that. Maybe,
no, not at all. And I'm sure that they have the Mac OS running on ARM processors in their labs. It wouldn't surprise me at all. That's what they did with x86 and the Mac OS, because OS 10, you have to remember that late in the game for next computers, OS 10 was not OS 10. The next step OS was running on x86 processors. It wasn't running on PowerPC, which they were at the very beginning. And then, it wasn't like Next was selling enough computers where it really made that much of a difference, but they had made the switch over to x86 like relatively close to the end when Apple bought them. Right. So, but I would agree with you that what we might see is a new lower cost computer platform that out of the gate would have access to a lot of the software and applications that's available for iOS. Right. That would make more sense to me. And, basically low end, you say something like low end users, and that's very condescending, but it's not really what I mean. There are people that don't need 4 to 8 cores of an x86 to do the things that they're doing, like being online and watching people say silly things in livecasts.
The MacBook, the 12-inch MacBook is as close as you're going to get to something like that.
Yeah.
But maybe they're looking
for... That's a Core M processor, isn't it?
The base model is Core M. This one and the one above it is an actual i5 and i7. So.
Okay.
And it runs, it's not super speedy, but it's definitely... It does everything I need it to do. And you said, they're not going to introduce another Mac that's running on ARM. That's a Mac, because you said it, and it makes sense. They're not going to run 2 versions of the operating system because it'll be messy.
Well, and that's what Microsoft tried to do in a way. Microsoft basically had 2 different versions of Windows 8. They had an x86 version and they had the ARM version. The problem that they ran into was that they looked exactly alike. Right. So people buying the less expensive ARM one would get it and try to put on their x86 software and find out very, very quickly that wasn't going to run it.
Right. So it would have to be marketed as such.
As something new.
But again, what are they going to get that the iPad's not going to do with a keyboard? So, is it worth it? What are you going to get out of it? Are you going to get a fast? If they could make something like this with an ARM processor that's this size, that's as fast as a MacBook Pro, then that I could
with the apps that most people want to use, a browser, email client. Something even, to play movies and music and office applications, all the rest of that.
if this thing could be as fast as my MacBook Pro and have access to all the Mac apps, I think that would be a seller.
Yeah.
But maybe they're looking into those kind of options, whether they're going to go Intel or ARM that way. But I don't know what the limitations of Intel is compared to ARM. From what I understand, ARM is more of a mobile platform. It runs cooler.
It's a CISC. It's the difference between CISC, which is complex instruction set, and RISC, which is reduced instruction set. So right. The RISC chips of the same relative. I mean, I don't know if you remember the snail commercials back in the PowerPC days when Apple had these commercials making fun of Intel based computers because, you know, all things considered, they weren't any faster than RISC based computers that had half the clock speed. That was Apple basically trying to stave off the people say, oh, your computer is only at 300 megahertz. Well, mine's at 600 megahertz. Well, it didn't really matter because that computer was a CISC based computer, whereas the Apple computer was RISC based, reduced instructions, so it can do more with less.
Right, but the ARM chip is also more mobile based. It's lighter and runs cooler.
Yes.
So that's why my iPhone doesn't have a
big fan
and a fan in there is because it doesn't need
hold on. Listening to the fan in my iPhone.
It's running hot. I mean, it does get hot, but it doesn't. But if they could harness that and if they can make a really fast computer running Mac in a form factor of something the size of an iPad, then now we're talking, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, do I have to reach over? You know what's over here.
No, but that thing's a piece of junk.
It is. It really is now.
Yeah, it probably was when you first got it too.
No, actually, you have to admit, that thing is now like 3 years old, and that's running on an ARM processor. And It was a desktop environment. I had Microsoft Office. I had all the Android applications that would run on it, and it was, considering that a little box about that big, it was amazing and super cheap.
Right. But I'm saying if I had this little MacBook or an iPad Pro 10-inch or 12-inch with a keyboard that could run it could run all the things where people say that these things cannot do right now. Like, I tell people I have this MacBook 12-inch. They're like, you can't run Photo blah blah whatever.
Yeah.
You have Photo Pro stuff on there.
Yeah, I'm like, why would you?
I don't want to. B, I'm sure it could, but
not well. But
not well.
It's
right.
It's like saying, you know what? I'm going to take that Core M MacBook, and I'm going to run Boot Camp on it so that I can play Crysis. Right. Why would you do that?
No.
You actually might be able to, but why would you?
But if they had something the same size and weight that was as powerful as a Mac Pro, then we're talking something that people would be interested.
Yeah.
People, I know the pros like to, it's not a pro if I can't put, take
Photoshop.
Things out of it.
Yeah.
Not even, if I can't pull things out of this thing, my laptop or my desktop and put things into it, then it's not a pro. Take that out of the equation and say if this could run anything out there, then it's running on an ARM chip, but it could run any Mac program out there.
Yeah. Well, no. Don't even say Mac, iOS, because most of the stuff that people want to use on a daily basis, and again, email program, browser, Office-like environment, something to play music and movies. There's probably 3/4 right there. What I just said, 3/4 of what most people use their computers for.
We already have that.
We do.
We already have.
But what it doesn't have, what it doesn't have is a GUI. And at least not from Apple, unless you buy a Mac. What if there's something that's cheaper and lighter and smaller that will run all of the iOS applications that are good enough for most people with a little bit of tweaking, make it look like it's a Mac.
We have thin and light laptops, Mac and Windows, and we have thin and light tablets for iPads that could do all that.
Yes, but
I
think what we have coming up is a shift in how we use computers. And I think Apple is playing their cards very, very close to their chest on this, that they're not going to. And when has Apple ever said, here is our roadmap to the future? They don't, because they don't want to give away what it is that they're doing. And they're not going to until they actually have something that they're going to put out. And I think what they're going to put out is a iOS-ish new platform that kind of looks like a Mac but isn't a Mac. And the Mac will still be around. The Mac isn't going to go anywhere, at least not for the short term. Yeah, but there'll be this new thing.
Yeah, I don't think they would have to create a whole new platform. They could morph iOS for the iPad into that.
Sure.
They don't have to come up with a whole new platform for that. They're trying. They've already tried. They already are trying to make the iPad more desktop-like.
Well, all they need is a dock. Is something that a dock that can attach to large monitors and other peripherals that a lot of people use. And geez, you're right there. You are right there.
Well, they have that. They have keyboards and
keyboards.
I've been asking for a mouse forever. And for an iPad, I would like a mouse.
Okay, well, imagine having iOS on a 27-inch screen with mouse and keyboard support.
I could do that without the mouse.
Well, no, if you're talking a 27-inch screen, doing this in front of you is a no-go. The people don't want to do this. That what Tom Cruise did in some silly movie. People don't want to hold their hands over their head and manipulate stuff like this. They're used to a keyboard. No. They're used to a trackpad or a mouse or what have you.
I could hook up a Lightning to HDMI adapter on an iPad and plug it into any monitor I want.
Yes, you can. But how are you? Yeah, that's what I mean. How are you going to manipulate it unless you're now looking? You're not looking at the screen, this beautiful screen that you have all that on. You're looking down at the 12-inch screen that's on your iPad. You need something that you can see on this big screen that you can manipulate stuff with, which means you need a pointer. You need something.
That's not hard. They could take a magic track, one of those magic trackpad, and have all the gestures and do all that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, maybe. That would. I think people would want that if it was out. I think people would want that.
Well, and it's a question of money as well. Right now, something and we're going to talk about it in a second because it's kind of in the next story. Apple has this insane retention rate for iOS devices. If you buy an iPhone, chances are you're going to buy the next iPhone or you're going to buy the next iPad. Maybe not the one that's right after the one that you just bought, but chances are when you're ready to buy a new phone or a new tablet, you're going to buy one from Apple. So if they can take that kind of brand loyalty and move it to a new platform where you have people saying, okay, well, here is my phone and I do stuff on my phone and then I put my phone down and then I got this other device that's kind of like a Mac and kind of like Windows, but it's over here instead and it's my desktop and all the rest of that. But then they got money still coming in both ways. And the fact that, that it's not a Mac at whatever the profit margin is from, what they pay to have a Mac created to what you pay for it to get it in your home, doesn't mean that they still can't keep those margins on a new platform.
The trend is still continuing. Smaller, lighter, faster.
Right.
That's always going to be the trend until until we
the
don't
sun
have
burns out.
Well, it's going to be the trend until we don't, until they figure out how not to have a device,
Right.
be it VR glasses
brain.
or whether it's in front of your face or whatever. But that's the trend. And if they could go to a different chip and make a light, small, powerful something, they should do it.
Yeah.
Or if they can make a big, or like Microsoft came out with the Surface screen. No, not the normal laptop.
I know what you mean. What have you heard about it since it came out?
I don't know if it's been released yet, but I think it's.
There you go.
I think people are gonna, businesses will buy it for displays and stuff like that. But
it's not
at least they're trying.
It was a
and they knew that
stunt. Is all that it was. Apple releases products that people want to buy. Microsoft and Dell and Samsung and a lot of other companies release products. They go, wow, look at this. This is us innovating. Can you buy it in a store? Well, no, but if enough people show enough interest, maybe we'll put it out. It's like, real companies ship. That's the rule. Real companies ship.
You could say that, but you could also say eventually one of these things could stick. Sure. And they're trying. I mean,
yeah, Apple isn't gonna rule the roost in these markets forever. It's statistically it's very unlikely. But so far, I haven't seen who the next Apple is going to be. Right. You ready to move on?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Yep.
Last story of the evening: analysts already playing games with iPhone rumors. Would you copy that? This is another article from Apple Insider. Perhaps to build the stock up before WWDC to bring it down as we get closer to the next iPhone sales cycle. Daniel Ives of GBH Insights claims that Apple has a $250 to $350 billion opportunity for a new super cycle. New super cycle of iPhone sales. Yeah, except it really doesn't matter to anyone outside of stock speculators and the analysts that feed them. Whether Apple's 150 million iPhones like in 2013 or 217 million of 2017, we aren't going to see the jumps like the 170 from 2014 to the 231 of 2015. That was the difference between the iPhone 5S and the iPhone 6. The iPhone 6 was a huge game changer because it was like the first really new design of the iPhone basically since it came out. And we're at the point now with iPhones and with smartphones in general where we're not seeing big changes because there's not really, I mean, where else are you going to go from a slab that does stuff for you? So, I mean, basically, people who buy iPhones next year, whether or not they buy an iPhone will depend on whether or not the one that they have does what they want it to do, or if they need to purchase a new one to get it to do the stuff that they want.
Go ahead. People who have iPhones, there's people that are going to wait till they need a new one, or there's people that are going to wait, or there's going to be people who just want to get the newest, like me. But it doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter which one you are. There's going to be a cycle for each one. So it's going to continue on. I mean, it's not like, it's not like somebody's iPhone is going to be needing replacement and they're going to say, nah, I'm done. I don't need a phone anymore. They're going to buy another iPhone.
Yeah.
And they're not going to Android, so they're going to get them. Yeah, they're going to get a phone. And if Apple releases a new iPhone, there's going to be that crowd that buys that one and sells the old one.
Well, so in the history of the iPhone since 2007, there's only been 1 year when the sales dropped, and that was between 2015 and 2016 when unit sales for the fiscal year actually dropped by 20 million units. But if you look at how they've sold on a curve, the very next year, the year that they sold less than 20 million less than the previous year, was still riding that curve. You know, the iPhone 6 was an aberration rather than the norm. And Apple doesn't need supercycles to impress anyone because they have something that is more important than a suddenly hot in-demand phone, something that puts them ahead of every single you can tell I'm reading this, every single Android phone and device maker out there. And it may not be what you think. It's not iOS or Apple Pay or ties into Apple Watch or CarPlay or anything else that's technical in nature. And it's one word, retention.
Right.
Apple has more repeat business than any other company out there, and that brand loyalty means more than Face ID or missing headphone ports or problems with iTunes or bendable frames. The retention rate of iPhones is the envy of every other phone maker out there, and it's something that Google and Samsung can only aspire but never, ever see. Some people have put Apple's retention rate as high as 92%, which is crazy high. Nobody else has anything even close to that.
Yep. I mean, it's going to be, unless Apple, releases a real crap piece of phone or another type of phone provider releases something that's totally incredible, this will just continue to be the same. And analysts should just say, it's going to be like last year.
Yeah.
Unless something really happens, like a big shift. And that would be like if, as I said, if Apple releases a phone that is
that blows up. If you happen to say, Alexis or something like that, the phone blows up in your face. Oh, so you got an iPhone? You got an iPhone X? I see. Yes.
Yeah. And so unless it's like that, or Android comes up with something that's like
super amazing,
you have to have it, then it's going to be the same every year.
Yeah. Do you see that happening?
Not this year.
No.
Ask me next year.
Yeah, maybe.
You never know. I mean, technology changes, but right now, nothing's going to change.
But the fact that Apple has a 92% retention rate, that says more about the perception of Android than it does about Apple fanboys. Now you have to remember that Apple has roughly, and who knows what the numbers actually are, but it's somewhere between 10 to 20% of the global market. That's their market all by themselves, 10 to 20%. And that is more than I think, well, maybe Samsung has somewhat of an equal amount, but a lot of the phones that Samsung are selling aren't smartphones. They're just phones. Mostly to, how to say this without sounding condescending, less affluent markets, for lack of a better term. Right. Because those markets, you look at all the problems that Apple's had trying to get their foot in the door in India, and the trouble that they had originally trying to get their foot in the door in China. And, I can't imagine that with the cost of what they are, that they're real big in South America or Africa or Central America, except among, the class elite and all the, whatever.
But emerging markets
or whatever.
Emerging markets is a big
can't afford
business.
It. Yeah.
Right. But they want to get in there too. And they try with lower end phones, or they try to sell the model. And Apple does the same. I mean, that's why there's an SE, and that's why they, some of these emerging markets are still selling sixes as new from Apple. I mean, they do try to get in there too. But the loyalty comes from the ecosystem. And a lot of people just think it's going to be a pain in the ass to switch off it, and it is. But it's that way because it works. It's a good ecosystem.
Yeah.
For the most part, it works better than any other ecosystem out there. And for me to switch off an iPhone to something else would be a headache, and it would be that for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, they're smart. And the services are part of it, and the ecosystem's part of it too. And the fact that their stuff is nice is it's not like people are like, oh, I really hate this stupid iPhone, but
what are we
but
gonna do?
iMessage, but iMessage,
No,
they're
no.
not like that. And,
Battery
they're like
swelling.
batteries. I really hate this.
If only I
iPad.
had a choice of some other type of technology to use than an iPhone.
Right, but how am I going to? How am I going to get on my Snapchats and all that? So the loyalty is there.
Snapchats.
I need to get on my Snapchats.
I need my book faces. Where's my book faces? Okay, this reminds me of the late 90s, early 2000s when AOL was the internet. Anyway.
Still is in some houses I go to.
Well, yeah, I got something I could say about that, but not going to. Very quickly as I can, Macstock 2018. This is now in its fourth year. You can see I'm wearing the hat tonight. The dates are the July 21st and 22nd. And if you go to basically just Google Macstock Expo, and it'll come up.
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
I will? For what?
Did you say OK Siri or something?
I don't think so.
Or his. So
I don't know what happened there. That was weird.
I know how the app. It's like the Amazon thing. It's calling.
Let me try it again. Hey Siri. It worked. Hi Siri. Anything to say?
You could do a lot of things without unlocking your phone, by the way. So I'm not unlocked for you.
Let's see here. Say hello to everyone on the Mac to the Future show.
Hello.
Okay, I guess she's a woman of few words.
Hey Siri. Say hi to Guy.
See, Siri hates me.
I don't know how to respond to that. but she thought it says, hey Siri, say hi to Die, is what it says.
I would be confused about that as well. Okay.
Oh, no, it says, say hi to Donald Isabel. Hello. Okay.
Macstock 2018. July 21st and 22nd in Woodstock, Illinois, just outside of Chicago at the McHenry County College campus in Crystal Lake, Illinois. The conference center, it really is beautiful. It's a gorgeous facility. The cost for the entire conference is $249, but with the coupon code MyMac, MYMAC, all one word, you can just lop $70 right off of that. Total cost of the conference, $179. You are not going to find, I mean, that's a bargain. That is a bargain. Yeah. So, I've been talking about this show now for I don't know how many weeks. There's so many great reasons to go. If you can make it, you really, really should go. You're going to meet some great people and have a wonderful time. Check out Macstock Expo. Just Google Macstock Expo. The site will come up. You'll see all the speakers. You'll see all the talks. It's going to be fantastic. I'll be there with my mobile kit. I'll be podcasting. People are welcome to come on up while we're podcasting. Talk to us. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, whatever it is you want to do. It's going to be so much fun. Be there. Macstock Conference and Expo. Warren, you're on Facebook, aren't you?
All the time.
All the time. You can reach me.
Good.
You can reach me, guy@mymac.com, probably. Also, guy@mttfgo.com. I am Mac Parrot on the Twitters. We have a Skype telephone number, and I saw as we were getting ready to start, there's a couple of calls in there. I don't know if it's for this show or the MyMac show, but that number is area code 703-436-9501. That number, again, is area code 703-436-9501. Call it collect, call it direct, but just call it today, or really, whenever you have time. We're not picky. Warren, thanks. Oh, you know what? I almost forgot to say, besides doing this show and the My Mac podcast, I'm also doing Guy's Daily Drive, which I have now submitted to iTunes as an audio podcast. It's been waiting to hear back from them for about a week. Still haven't heard anything back from them yet.
Once they approve you, they own you, you know.
I guess, but I'm going to also submit the feed to Spotify and maybe a few of the other podcatchers, so you can listen to the 10 to 15 minutes of insanity, with the exception of last Saturday of the Guy's Daily Drive. Did I tell you about this? Did you hear about this?
What? No.
The crazy part that happened last Saturday. I think
I heard something about your podcast.
I was in the middle of recording. And
something about a crazy woman? Or
this crazy woman cut off 4 people, went into the left-hand lane of a 2-lane road, left-hand turn lane, cut off a bunch of people, and I completely lost my mind. I got so pissed.
While podcasting.
And
so that makes for good, that's good entertainment right there.
Yeah, and it is available, but only to Patreon supporters. So if you would like to see that.
There's some language involved, right?
Oh, there is some really, really bad language that I did, and I'm not saying I'm proud of it, but
all right. Well, there you go.
So if you go to patreon.com/MacParrot and become a patron,
Guys Daily Drive unrated version.
Daily Drive unrated, and I need to do, and this was actually suggested to me, that I do some more Patreon or Ko-fi exclusive content, and I probably really should if I'm going to try to make a go at this, because I'm now spending quite a bit of money to. Before, it was when I was just doing my Mac, it was easy. It was Tim, here's the file, go ahead and put it up on your server. But all the rest of the stuff I'm doing is kind of on me. So anyway, and you don't have to if you don't want to. You'll be able to see and hear practically everything I do for free. But if you would like to contribute, patreon.com/MacParrot or Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/MacParrot. Anything you are interested in contributing would be greatly appreciated. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really do. From the heart of my bottom.
From the heart of my bottom. Yeah.
So we are gonna wrap this up. We are running so very long this evening. Yeah, so Warren, thank you so much for coming on this evening. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me. Always.
And thanks to everyone who has stuck by as the insanity kind of rolled through its process. We both appreciate the fact. Ouch! I just hit my hand on the table. That you have taken the time to watch some of the nonsense that we do on a daily basis. It is greatly appreciated. And Warren, would you like to say good night?
Good night, Warren.
Good night, Warren. There you go. Okay.
Night, Warren.
Bye, everybody.
All right.